This is how an empath brings down a narcissist. In a world filled with complex personalities and power dynamics, few relationships are as compelling, or as volatile, as that between an empath and a narcissist. On one side, you have the empath, deeply in tune with the emotions of others, compassionate, and often selfless. On the other side stands the narcissist, manipulative, self-centered, and eager to feed off the emotions and energy of those around them. It's a dynamic that can be both destructive and fascinating. But what happens when the tables turn? When the empath, often viewed as the weaker party, decides they've had enough? How can someone so deeply connected to their emotions and those of others bring down a person who thrives on control and manipulation? You might think the empath is destined to be the victim in this story, constantly drained by the narcissist's demands. But in reality, empaths possess a quiet strength, one that narcissists often underestimate. By the end of this video, you'll understand how an empath can turn the tide, reclaim their power, and bring down the very person who sought to control them. So, stay with us till the end to uncover the fascinating way an empath dismantles the narcissist's game. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We regularly post insightful content like this, and you won't want to miss out. If you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, and feel free to share it with someone who might benefit from understanding this powerful dynamic. Now, let's get into it. Narcissists and empaths often find themselves drawn to each other because, on the surface, they complement each other. The narcissist craves admiration, attention, and emotional energy, while the empath is often willing to give endlessly. This dynamic can last for years, with the empath giving and the narcissist taking. However, something begins to change when the empath starts to see through the narcissist's manipulation. It's a slow process, but one that ultimately leads to the unraveling of the narcissist's control. The empath's journey to bringing down the narcissist starts with one critical realization: understanding that they have the power to say no. Empaths are naturally inclined to want to help, heal, and care for others, but they often do so at the expense of their own well-being. When they realize that they don't have to give in to the narcissist's every demand, a shift begins. It's subtle at first, perhaps with the empath pulling back just slightly, refusing to engage in an argument, not reacting to a manipulative comment, or setting small boundaries that the narcissist can't easily cross. Now, here's the part where things get interesting. Narcissists thrive on control and power. When an empath starts to withdraw emotionally or sets boundaries, the narcissist can't handle it. They are so used to the empath's endless supply of emotional energy that any disruption to this dynamic feels like a personal attack. The narcissist may try to regain control by using guilt, shame, or even anger to pull the empath back into their web. But if the empath has realized their strength and stands firm, something begins to happen. The narcissist starts to lose their grip. You see, the narcissist's power over an empath relies on the empath's willingness to play along with their game. As soon as the empath stops playing, the narcissist's control begins to crumble. This is where the real power of the empath lies, in their ability to remain calm, centered, and detached from the emotional chaos the narcissist tries to create. When the narcissist can no longer provoke a reaction, they start to panic. Their manipulative tactics lose their effectiveness, and they begin to see the empath not as a victim, but as a threat. The key to an empath's ability to bring down a narcissist lies in emotional detachment. Narcissists want to provoke strong emotions because those emotions give them fuel. They thrive on your anger, your sadness, your frustration. But when an empath learns to detach emotionally, to see the narcissist's behavior for what it truly is, and attempt to maintain control, they take away the narcissist's power. The narcissist's insults, guilt trips, and manipulations bounce off the empath like water off a duck's back. And nothing frustrates a narcissist more than losing their ability to control someone's emotions. At this point, you might be wondering, how exactly does an empath maintain this emotional detachment? It's not easy, especially for someone who is naturally in tune with the emotions of others. But empaths have one major advantage: they understand emotions deeply. Once they realize that the narcissist's outbursts are not a reflection of their own worth but are instead a projection of the narcissist's inner turmoil, they begin to see things more clearly. The narcissist is no longer the dominant figure in the relationship but rather someone who is desperately trying to maintain a facade of control. Empaths bring down narcissists not by fighting fire with fire, but by staying calm, centered, and refusing to engage in the narcissist's games. The more the narcissist pushes, the more the empath stands firm. This shift in power is something the narcissist never expects. After all, they're used to being in control. When the empath stops reacting, the narcissist is left floundering, trying to figure out why their usual tactics aren't working. One of the most powerful tools an empath has in bringing down a narcissist is the ability to set boundaries. Narcissists are notorious for pushing boundaries, testing limits, and seeing how far they can go. But when an empath sets a boundary and sticks to it, the narcissist is left with no choice but to back off. Boundaries can be as simple as refusing to engage in a conversation when the narcissist becomes manipulative, or as complex as ending the relationship altogether. Whatever form they take, boundaries are a crucial part of the empath's strategy in dismantling the narcissist's control. At the heart of this dynamic is a deep psychological shift. The empath, once the giver, the nurturer, the one who always wanted to help, begins to realize that their well-being matters too. This shift in focus from the narcissist to themselves is what ultimately brings the narcissist down. When the empath stops pouring all of their energy into the narcissist and starts taking care of themselves, the narcissist's power wanes. Narcissists are used to getting their way. They are used to people bending to their will, doing what they want, and feeding their ego. But when an empath takes a stand, something remarkable happens. The narcissist is forced to confront their own insecurities, their own fears, and their own lack of control. Without the empath to feed off of, the narcissist is left in a vulnerable position. And it is in this vulnerability that the narcissist's downfall begins. Empaths don't bring down narcissists through confrontation or aggression. They do it through self-awareness, emotional detachment, and the refusal to be controlled. The narcissist's need for control is their greatest weakness, and once the empath recognizes this, they can use it to their advantage. By refusing to play the narcissist's game, the empath takes away the very thing the narcissist relies on: power. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know how exhausting it can be. But what this video shows is that you don't have to be a victim. Empaths have a quiet strength that narcissists often underestimate, and by tapping into that strength, they can dismantle the narcissist's control piece by piece. If you're finding this content helpful so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more insights into the fascinating world of human relationships. Sharing this video with someone who might need it could help them take the first step in reclaiming their power. The empath's journey is one of self-discovery. At first, they may feel powerless in the face of the narcissist's manipulation, but as they begin to understand their own worth, they find that they are stronger than they ever realized. And once the narcissist realizes they no longer have control over the empath, their world starts to crumble. It's a slow process, but one that ultimately leads to the narcissist's downfall. Thank you for sticking with us through this exploration of how an empath can bring down a narcissist. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone you think might benefit from understanding this dynamic. Don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this, and let us know in the comments if you've ever experienced a relationship with a narcissist. Your story might help someone else realize they're not alone. See you in the next video.
When a narcissist realizes his life is ruined because of his actions. Narcissism, with all its captivating charm, self-assured confidence, and manipulative tendencies, is a psychological trait that many of us find ourselves fascinated by. It's a term we throw around often, especially when we encounter someone who seems self-centered or lacks empathy. But behind the facade of grandiosity and superiority lies something far more fragile. The moment when a narcissist realizes their life is unraveling because of their own actions is a fascinating and often tragic event. It's a moment when the illusion they've built comes crashing down, forcing them to face the reality they've been running from their whole lives. Picture a life constructed like a house of cards, beautiful, complex, and seemingly solid. But just a small gust of wind, the lightest pressure from reality, can send it all tumbling down. The narcissist's life is much like this. They've spent years perfecting their image, manipulating those around them, and convincing themselves and others that they are invincible. But what happens when they can no longer hold the cards together? When they start losing control over the very situations and people they've dominated for so long. Stay with us until the end, because this deep dive into the mind of a narcissist as their world crumbles will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about how people deal with failure, self-awareness, and the fallout from their actions. And if you're enjoying the content so far, be sure to subscribe, like, and share this video with anyone you think would find it just as intriguing. Now, let's unravel the mystery behind the narcissist's fall. One of the most gripping aspects of a narcissist's downfall is their complete inability to process failure in the same way most people do. For the narcissist, life is a constant performance, a delicate balancing act of maintaining superiority while keeping others beneath them. They thrive on admiration and control, and they'll go to great lengths to maintain this dynamic, even if it means sacrificing their relationships, integrity, or long-term success. But life has a funny way of catching up with people, and for the narcissist, the reality of their actions often hits like a freight train. At first, the cracks in their life might appear subtle. A friend distancing themselves, a partner growing tired of their manipulations, a colleague becoming wise to their power plays. The narcissist, in their usual fashion, will likely dismiss these early warning signs. They've spent years cultivating a sense of invulnerability, believing they are always the smartest, most charming person in the room. So, why would they notice when the tide starts turning? But then, something bigger happens. Perhaps it's a public humiliation, a failed business deal, or the collapse of a long-term relationship. These are moments that even a narcissist can't ignore. And when the walls start closing in, the narcissist is faced with a terrifying realization. Their life is falling apart, and they are the ones to blame. Here's where things get truly interesting. Instead of taking responsibility for their actions, most narcissists will initially lash out. They'll double down on their manipulative tactics, blaming others for their failures. In their mind, they are never wrong. Everyone else is. A narcissist, when faced with failure, will go to great lengths to maintain their delusion of control.